Rick Springfield has been writing and performing music for more than 4 decades. He's also an accomplished actor and author. His previous book, Late Late at Night, was a New York Times bestseller and named by Rolling Stone magazine as one of the top 25 rock memoirs of all time. Tonight Rick is here to talk about his newest novel, Magnificent Vibration. And he will be in conversation with Seattle Times journalist Nicole Broeder. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Rick Springfield.
Rick just told me that his book just hit the New York Times bestseller list today. Okay. I understand that some people have been here since the crack of ass this morning. Is that true? Who has been here? Somebody's been here since 9 in the morning. Is that right? Are you wearing catheters or how are you? Adult diapers? Really? And you made sure you would kill someone if they... Okay. All right. Well, good. I admire your dedication. I mean, this is no surprise, right? You've got all kinds of fans.
Oh, I know it's always
they
great
go
when
on
they show up
cruises
early.
with you, huh? Who's on the cruises? So you've swam in a pool with him? This is nothing? No. Okay. Well, how are you holding up?
I'm good.
Okay, good.
I could use a nap, but I'm good.
Does the swooning ever stop? I mean, are you tired of the term heartthrob, and does it make it difficult to buy groceries?
I don't really relate to that, but I kind of get it. But you know, I mean, I just do my work, and that's really what I'm here for.
Okay, good. Well, I just think everywhere you go, there's screaming women. I mean, can you go buy a chicken and without any problem?
I actually don't eat chicken, no, so it's not possible.
I just thought I'd ask. Okay. I wanted to just ask you a little bit about you to start. Did you read as a child? And if so, what did you read? I know you listen to the Beatles like a crazy person, correct?
Yeah, I did, actually. I read a lot. I've always been a reader. I used to steal books, actually, because I couldn't afford them, which is why the guy in the novel steals his book, because there's little bits of me all through the book. But I used to steal books, and I used to steal mainly horror stories and sci-fi. H.P. Lovecraft, August Derleth, Arthur C. Clarke, Ray Bradbury, Robert Bloch, Heinlein, all the really crappy writers.
Right.
No, they were awesome. I'm kidding. Being facetious.
Illustrated Man is one of my faves. Illustrated Man is great. Great.
The only autographs I collect is actually writers. I have a Fahrenheit 451 signed to me from Ray Bradbury, which is pretty awesome.
Wow, great. Boy, that's kind of a surprise because science fiction can be pretty dark and pretty.
Well, I have a lot of there's some darkness in this.
Yeah, it's dark, all right. So that's what you read as a child. So you wrote essays as a child, and writing was your original plan, and then that veered into songwriting.
Right.
Okay. So talk about what you had in mind for yourself before you got into music, and is this it? Are you getting there now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm getting there. I wanted to just write, actually, my initial stories. Now that I've made the New York Times bestseller list twice, I'm hoping that my original little novelette I wrote when I was 13 called Scab Man will have a bidding war.
Can you tell us a little bit about Scab Man?
Scab Man was a guy that used to go around, they'd find all these murder victims, and they had little pieces of scabs in their neck where they'd been strangled. Hey, I was 12 years old, and all I read was horror stories. And eventually they found out that it was this guy, Scab Man, who was covered in scabs. There wasn't anything deeper than that.
That reminds me of this quote I saw in the back of your book by your mother. It's a blurb. Richard is a very naughty boy. Why can't he write a nice story? I don't know why he's so obsessed with his private parts. Rude child, I wish I'd had a daughter instead. That's from your mom, but maybe she read Scabman. Did she read?
She did read Scabman, yes. She was very worried. She's very glad I took the musical path, because you can't really write a song called Scabman and expect it to do anything,
So I can think of a few bands who might try, but anyway. Okay, so you're where you dreamed you wanted, where you really wanted to be?
No, I never where I always dream way, way bigger. So.
Well, the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, it's great, but I mean, I want to keep writing.
What does it take, Rick?
What's that?
What does it take for you to get happy? Be happy?
I think God of the universe would finally settle me. No, I'm very driven. I mean, I don't know. Part of my restlessness is that I'm never happy with where I am. I was never the guy that put platinum records up on the walls or awards around. I just would stick them in a closet, go, okay, that's done, I need to move on. And so I always look forward, and it's part of my drive, but it's also a real pain in the ass sometimes.
Okay. That's why you're still touring 100 dates a year and all that.
Yeah, well, I love to tour. That's my social side. I mean, I actually am not very social when you just meet me on the street. If any of you, I kind of, you know, but my social side likes to play live, and that's where I party.
Everything else, it's back away. I'm trying to buy a chicken here.
I wouldn't buy a chicken. I was abused by a chicken when I was a young child, so I have serious issues about chickens.
Okay, got it. All right, Rolling Stone named your autobiography, as we heard in your introduction, one of the 25 greatest rock memoirs of all time. That's pretty definitive and very flattering and pretty great. Why do you think that is?
Because it's awesome.
Well, you didn't use a ghostwriter.
I wrote it myself, and I think that has a lot to do with it, because I'm a writer. I think the way celeb autobiographies are usually written, not always, but the majority of the time, the celebrity talks to a writer and talks into a tape recorder, and then the writer goes away and writes the story. So it's kind of generic sounding thing, no matter what your life is. They just generally smooth it out. So I read this first chapter that this writer had written, and I said, this could be anybody. So I wanted all the warts and everything in there, because that's what makes a human being. So I wrote it, and I think because I know me better than anybody, and I know the path that my life has taken, I could write it clearer than someone who just was kind of guessing and filling in the blanks. I knew what all the blanks were.
Mm-hmm. But it also helped you move from, I mean, people read about your depression. I have the book, and I haven't finished it because I was reading this one. But you talk openly about depression and a lot of stuff that went on, and warts and all, like you said. And that was kind of a surprise for people, and suddenly people, I think they took you seriously as a writer, from this pop guy and General Hospital and Noah Drake and all that stuff. And I've been prompted, I remember that time, but I did a lot of things between General Hospital and tonight. So.
I don't remember it.
I don't remember it. Do you remember General Hospital?
Yeah, I do. But it was a shiny, happy pop guy that was the image, and I think that anytime you reveal that that's not the case, I think that makes people more interested in you, because we all have depth. We just don't, it's easier just to kind of, okay, that person's that type of person, that person's that type of person. There, you put everyone in a box because it's easier to handle. You can't go deep with everybody. So and I get put in a box too. And I think when you tell people what's really going on, like if anyone ever says, "How you doing?" I never say, "Oh, great," because I don't feel great. If they say, "How you doing?" sometimes I go, "Actually, I'm kind of depressed right now." Most of the time they go, "Oh, good." Yeah.
You're Rick Springfield too.
What's that?
I mean, because you're Rick Springfield too. It's like even your name is happy.
You can't say Rick Springfield and not smile.
I know. It's true. But yeah, there is depth there. So I think that's. And then here you came out with this thing, and people saw that you could write, and here we are in the New York Times bestseller list. So let's talk about this book. It's about a man named Horatio whose life is pretty much in the crapper. He's divorced and unemployed and steals a book from a store, and inside the front cover finds a phone number to God and calls it, starting a journey through place and time, sex and religion. There's a sex scene with a preacher's wife.
Some people haven't read it. Come on, there's got to be a lot of surprises in there.
The Loch Ness Monster shows up?
Possibly.
What goes on? Personified sexual organs with names?
I have lots of names. He has lots of names for his penis.
So what goes on in your head?
Actually, a friend of mine wrote me an email the other day. He said, dude, there's names in there I've never even heard before. He was very impressed that I had so many names for a penis.
So I want to ask where this came from, and I'm getting a sense if you were reading Lovecraft and Ray Bradbury when you were growing up, you know, your mind was already over in that part of the house. But how did the book evolve? Because you wrote it yourself, you didn't do an arc, you didn't do any of the traditional, did it unfold in front of you, or did you have it all sketched out?
No, I didn't do an arc because I don't do that with songs, and I didn't really have a firm view of where it was going, and I started out with a guy having a conversation with God and how that would really play out if God had a bit of an attitude and was kind of pissed off at the way we mishandled his beautiful planet and screwed it up. And you know, and I'm a big champion for the earth, and if there's it's not a message, but if there's any underlying theme in it, it's that we've been bad stewards, and every day you're hearing something new about, you know, they just discovered in Antarctica that the underlying ice has passed a tipping point now, and it's just going to keep melting, and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's really that's if there's a theme, it's that. It's not that God's got a bit of an attitude. It's really just it's how I imagine God would be and how I feel about what we've done with the earth. But it is a humorous book because there's lots of names for a wanger. So that makes it funny.
So there's a glossary in the dictionary. Urban dictionary.
I even invented a couple. So.
Okay. So you're a spiritual person to start with. You're raised in the Church of England. And the protagonist is a horny, impulsive, lost, smart aleck. How much of you is Horatio / Bobby?
I think a lot of his attitude tends to be mine. He's kind of a winning loser, which I kind of feel like I am sometimes. But I have to start with truth with every character because it had to feel real to me, and then hopefully the character grows through the story and takes on its own life, and he certainly does. I mean, there's a lot of things in there. I mean, most of it's fiction. There's a couple of things that aren't, but they're not what you think. Nah, that's all I can say. The sex stuff is totally made up. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. But, okay. At the same time...
Except the obsession with the penis. That's kind of, I had that when I was a kid.
7 years old. And
yeah, I started early.
Getting boners in church.
Oh, duh. First of all, it was boring. And second of all, there was a lot of hot girls around.
In church.
Yeah. It's the only time they dress up. They looked awesome.
Okay. At the same time, Horatio / Bobby is completely devoted to his sister, who was depressed and disabled, and she redeemed him. And I found that the scenes with her were really particularly poignant. They were lovely. Okay. And she redeemed him in a way, and she was the best of him.
Yeah, he shone as a human being with her because he loved her so much, and he had to have a redeeming quality, because if he's just this idiot kid that all he wants to do is get laid, how can you like somebody like that? You know, so he had to have a redeeming quality, and a lot of the women, some of the women in his life weren't great people for him. So I didn't want this whole thing to be like a misogynistic, you know, this guy doesn't like women thing, because it couldn't be further from the truth. But I understand that love of someone who is in pain, and that's why his sister is in a lot of spiritual pain, emotional pain, and I understand that helplessness you feel with somebody like that when you can't really do anything about it. I know people like that, and there's a lot of things in this that I've taken from life and made into a single character, and she is one of them.
So who is that person for you? The person who is the best of you and who's kind of redeemed you a little bit? Is it your wife?
It's someone in my family circle, but that I won't say. But it's a very truthful thing, and I think we all have that. We all have someone. If it's not us, and it's someone very close to us, it's in a lot of pain. And I think it's very recognizable because it is so prevalent with everybody. I don't know I've never met anyone that's like not had some kind of screwed up sibling.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, either the sibling thinks it's them or they think it's their sibling, but you know, it's never
anyone?
It's never anybody. There's never anybody gone, yeah, I'm great, so's my brother, and my sister's doing great. Well, that's awesome. We're killing it.
Only in the Christmas letters.
Yes, only
exactly. That's the only time.
And even then, you can tell some shit's going on in the photos, right?
And you hate them and nobody knows.
You can tell. Body language says a lot in Christmas photos.
Okay. I was struck by God, and in the book, I mean. And,
yeah. I can take that several ways.
And I was a little sad to think that he really doesn't care about our calls or our thank yous, or because I talk to God all the time.
It's kind of a harsh, kind of unpopular view, but in the end, he does say, you know, he can't. It's my personal belief that God doesn't control our every move. There's not a book written for everybody, and we go. And I know there are people who believe that, and I happen not to believe that because, from my point of view, why would we be here if it's all written down? How would we learn if what they're like? I mean, there's a point in the book where God says, you know, these freaking
you human people.
The what?
What he says, you humans, or
yeah, well, you people, but because I believe there's more life in the universe, and we're very egotistically think it's just us. But there's a point in where God says these musicians and actors and sports people get up when something wonderful happens and thank me, and like I did it, but like so they think I gave that 6-year-old kid cancer. So where's the reality in that? If they're thanking me, thank you for giving me this amazing, you know, career and making $1 million, but you know, sorry about the kid over there that's got cancer. So that to me says that to a degree we are on our own. I do believe that we have a spiritual connection, and I hope I stress that in the book, that God is very aware of us, but we don't learn if we're not left to our own devices to a degree. And he says at the end, there is an end game. You don't just die and that's it. I mean, she, because it made him, what's the word when it's both sexes? Anyone? I'll give you a gold star if you remember. Androgynous, thank you.
Yeah, he says, so Bobby asks him, so there's no great overall plan, no grand design for mankind, womankind, whatever. If you're asking if there's an end game, well, of course there is, but it's probably not what you imagine. There will be an outcome, if you'll allow me a degree of nebulousness. Seriously, what would be the point of life if I controlled things? You know, it's your choices, your decisions, and even your momentary lapses of reason that make your lives what they are.
Right, I've made some really stupid choices, and I can't believe that God would have said, okay, you're going to do this really stupid thing and hurt this person now, because it's your path, you know? So we make our own choices. We have to be responsible for ourselves, and that's how you grow. All the things that have made me what I think is a better human being are things that I've fucked up and beat myself up over and got punished for. And even like getting something simple as getting a DUI. I mean, when I got my DUI, and I said, my first impression is, fuck government, fuck. But, sorry, is there any kids here?
Is this okay for the University Bookstore channel?
You can beat
will only
that.
run in Canada.
So, but then I said, well, I got to learn something from this, otherwise what's the point? So I went in and learned from it. And it was a stupid thing I did, and whatever, but we learn from you only learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from the good things you do, because you're too busy going out and getting drunk and going, yeah! But you learn from your mistakes, and that's what deepens your colors, is all the dark stuff that happens to you. I believe. I could be wrong.
You're pretty much there. I kept hearing God in my head in the book, when you read the book, which is available here at the University Bookstore. It's just on the New York Times bestseller list. You'll see that God, the conversations between Bobby and God are in bold. God is in bold and Bobby is in regular type. But I kept hearing God in my head, and he was the voice of Sidney Pollack or Krusty the Clown.
He's a bit of both.
Or someone from The Sopranos.
He's got a great sense of humor, which is very important.
So, who were you? I mean, like he had a cigar jammed in the corner of his mouth, or he was clipping his nails while he was talking to Bobby. That's how it sounded to me. So, who were you thinking of when you wrote God? Whose voice did he sound like?
Well, I made it that he couldn't define the sex. It was very bizarre, and it would be what I would think. It would be something completely other, than a voice. It would be something so, like, he, she. He refers to it as he, she because he can't tell. But if they're going to cast it, I thought, Jack Nicholson would be great. He's got an attitude. He's got the same kind of attitude that I imagine God has, the same sense of humor. God's got to have a sense of humor.
Right. Well, yeah.
But so, Jack Nicholson in a dress, because there's both sexes in there. To me, God is not male or female. It's both. And a lot of the story is about yin yang and the full circle of everything. Nothing is always all good or all bad. It's both.
So is there, if you're talking about casting or what have you, I read that the idea of a movie was bandied about, but that it would be too difficult to put this into a movie. Is that correct?
No, we're still very much, we're still pursuing that. In fact, I'm writing a sequel right now that takes it somewhere way south, that the whole thing would make a great movie. But it would be a very expensive film to make, for sure.
There it is, expensive.
But, so was Lord of the Rings.
Did you sell the rights? Did you say you sold the rights?
No, but we're still actively searching that. Okay, we're still sending it out. We haven't really given it out to many people. A lot of people came back that they loved the writing and they loved the story, but it was we're having difficulty imagining it as a script because it's just so out there, basically.
Well,
I can because I think it's very cinematic, but and it's and I think something will happen eventually with it.
Okay. What was that movie? Okay, never mind. I won't go there. My brain is gone. Do you believe, as Arthur does in the book, that the most profound saying humans have come up with is "shit happens"?
I thought, well, it was his humor,
right.
But what he's saying is, he's saying I don't control the day-to-day moments. That stuff happens, and what happens is what makes you who you are and how you react to that shit that happens. So it's it's a humorous take on. Obviously there's a lot of profound sayings, but a lot of them are really poetic and oh, that's awesome. But I think that there's a lot of truth in that. Shit happens. I read a book once called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. And it's an incredible book, and it's about that's where that shit happens came from, in my head anyway. It's not in the book, obviously, because the guy was a rabbi. He lost his son when his son was 12 years old. And he went through this whole search of why God could let that happen. How could God let my son die? Well, maybe God didn't. And he came to the conclusion that, stuff happens, and how you react to it is what makes you who you are. And God didn't kill his son, but God, would step in and save his son, but life happens. And that was the conclusion he came to, and I thought that was a really fair conclusion, that he knows God is there, and I feel God in me all the time, and I always meditate and connect with what I think is God. But it's a very scary thought to think that we're just kind of driving down the road and maybe an 18-wheeler could blast the thing and hit us. But that's life. We're survivors too, and we've lived this long. And we've seen people who haven't lived this long, and my dad died early. I have a friend who I dedicated my book to who died, who was younger than me when he died. And, shit happens. And how you react to it is what makes you you, and what makes you grow, helps you to grow. That's what I meant by that. Long answer, but that's what I meant.
No, I like it. It's good. We're going to have questions in a little bit, so I'm just going to ask a couple more questions of my own. You wrote this book in 5 months, and it jumps all over the place in both location and time. So talk, if you would, about your writing process. And I've read that you said, well, I tour a lot, so I write on the plane, or you know, and you thanked your wife for letting you sit under a tree with your laptop while you were on vacation and write, and you wrote then. But what do you?
My wife said to me actually yesterday, the day before I left, I was on the computer again, of course, in the kitchen. She goes, "Do you ever get off that computer?" So she's getting sick of it.
But what do you need to make it work? What do you need? You know, do you have Post-its all over the wall to keep track of things?
I have Post-its on my computer. I have just wild Post-its. Like if I get stumped, when I was doing this, when I got stumped with what was happening, I write myself a question. What does God want? Or what's Bobby searching for here? And I'm a big believer that the answer will come. I think that's how I work with songs too. I kind of try to step out of the way and not kind of force it. So I did that with this, and answers came, and I mean, I was as surprised as anyone at the twists and turns in it. When I first wrote the Loch Ness part, at the beginning of the book, I thought, what the hell does this mean? How is this ever going to tie in?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, what just popped up? I mean,
you don't know. It's like writing
no,
a song,
it
right?
just came, and I started writing it, and I'd write about things I'm interested in. So I just started writing about, you know, if there really was a Loch Ness monster. I mean, I love that kind of mystery of, we all do. That's why a lot of us still look up at the skies and go, is that a UFO?
Well, we have Sasquatch here.
It's part of search for God. What's that?
We have Sasquatch here.
Yeah.
But I think it was revealed that it was like somebody's brother.
You have a hairy guy that evaded everybody for hundreds of years. Yes.
People saw him in church at an early age.
Oh, okay. Well, he's religious. That's good. I mean, that's part of the mystery. I love that part of life, that mysterious thing. I still read about UFOs. I still read about Sasquatch stuff. I love all that. I still look at all the magazine articles and the History Channel crap of it. How can the History Channel do a thing on yes, Sasquatch is real? I thought you were a History Channel. Oh, get that.
And Bravo used to be about
ancient aliens on the History Channel. Back after this message.
Right. So who do you read, and what kind of music are you listening to? What's in your, what kind of music? What's on your nightstand? What are you reading?
I'm reading a thing at the moment called Warp Passages. That is it's kind of it's to do with the sequel of this, and it's about space and all the kind of the bizarre shit that's really out there. That is so hard to wrap your head around. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. It's really wild stuff. And we live in this one plane, and someone they said, how can you? It's so hard when what we focus on when we get up in the morning is the commute to work. Got to do my work. Got to get that cup of coffee. Got to meet this person, then go home and hang with the family. And that's kind of our routine. And then suddenly someone will say, hey, there might be like 15 dimensions in the universe. It's like, the fuck? What's that? Yeah, I mean, it's exciting stuff, and we're living our daily lives, yet all this wild shit I really believe is going on around us. I say there's a character in the book that is a spirit that leads people after they die, leads them to the next phase. And I believe, I think there's elements of that. I've felt that myself. I've been with, as mainly an animal I loved that passed away, and I felt like his spirit was being led somewhere.
Huh. I like that there was a dog in this book too. That was good. It made me happy. What kind of music are you listening to? Do you cook?
I just actually bought the Raspberries' greatest hits.
You did?
I love the Raspberries. Yeah, they're a great pop band, and
Eric
Carmen, yeah. I listen to a band called Porcupine Tree that I really like. A lot of kind of obscure stuff, but I listen to Beatles all the time too. I love to just put them on and I can do stuff because I know the song so well. I don't go, what did he say? So, you know, it's that kind of comfort music. But I listen to all the bands I loved when I was a kid, and I listen to a lot of new stuff. And
Your boys turn you on to stuff?
What's that?
Do your boys turn you on to music?
Yeah, they do actually. My eldest son, turned me on to Tool and Queens of Stone Age, bands like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Little Pearl Jam, never did anybody wrong. Okay, we're going to open to questions.
That's a great book too, by the way. Hyperbole and a Half. If you've ever read that, freaking brilliant book.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to open up to...
But buy mine first, that's all I'm saying. Mine's... You know, I want to take a sale away from Magnificent Vibration. Because the sequel's coming, and you got to get the first one in first.
So there's a sequel? You got 5 of them? Were you the one here at the Crack of Ass this morning?
Well, I say at concerts, if you buy 10 copies, I'll come and have dinner with you.
Don't say that. Does that... You'll be here till, you know, a week from Thursday. This is really great. Part of me wants to take a picture of the audience and just be like, what? And have you standing here. But this is wonderful. Okay, we're going to do questions. And I will ask the questions. I'll repeat it so everyone can hear it. And then Rick will answer it. Go.
Mine does not pertain to the book or your career.
Okay, next question, please.
Star Wars figurines. Is there one that you wish you had but can't find?
Do you want me to repeat that?
No.
Star Wars figurines.
The Star Wars figurines, yeah, which I use that word in my book, figurines, because that's what a mom would say, right? Your monster figurines.
Right.
The little Star Wars figures. I collect them.
You do?
It's sad. It's really sad.
I just want to point
but
out
I collect the
grown men here. Grown men.
Yeah, no. There's a couple of guys. I mean, you know, Pat Monahan from Train, right? The singer from Train. He came over to my place the other day with his guitar player. And he does a podcast, and I started talking about my Star Wars things. Pat started going, but his guitar player totally got it. I had to put out all my Star Wars toys. He said, can I take my clothes off and rub myself on them?
Okay.
So I have all the ones, actually I have all the ones I want. I searched for, the rarest one I have is a thing called Headman. It's so rare it's not even in any of the movies. But you can see if you type in Rick Springfield Headman, hopefully no other junk things will come up. But pretty sure the figurine will come up with Headman. It's me standing there like this, and so type that in. You Google that, and it'll come up. There's only 2 of them in the world, and I've searched for that one for like 12 years, and it's totally meaningless to anybody other than someone who likes Star Wars figurines.
Here. No judgment. No judgment here. Do you have a Darth Vader, Mr. Potato Head?
No, I collect the real stuff. Bring a potato head, no. I have a Darth Vader double telescoping in a bubble, which is very, very super rare. Maybe 7 or 8 of them in the world.
Do you have
and I can see you're really impressed, so I'm going to stop right there.
Do you have a Chewbacca keychain that growls?
Are you saying you do?
Maybe. Okay. With that, how about another question?
And it better be about Star Wars figurines, or I'm leaving.
Anyway, I have a question about a music question for you. Oblivious. I've been listening to that song for a couple of weeks now. And I want to know where you inspired it.
What inspired it?
I have to.
There's several songs. It's from an album called Venus in Overdrive. It was an album before the last one. And there's several songs on there that are inspired by Sahara Aldridge's passing. She was a beautiful 13-year-old girl that I loved, and I met her when she was 5 years old. Her mom was a fan when she was a little girl, brought Sahara, started bringing Sahara to my shows. She's just one of those kids that just, I still remember the first time I saw her. She was in a meet and greet line. I see this little head bobbing out right there. Said, come on, we got to get together here. What's going on? And she eventually developed, well, which is where I got the whole...
Rebecca?
Josie, the whole Josie thing where Josie dies is from Sahara, memory of Sahara dying. And I said it to her mom and said, it's okay. And she said, yeah, you treated it respectfully. So it's about Sahara. It's also about Matt, who I wrote the song with, Matt Bissonnette's mom died around the same time. So the line where it says, something young, I know. It's
2 weeks you've been listening to this song.
She's talking about life going too fast, you know, closed gate, you know. So it's about death, but it's and dealing with death. So that it's, you know, I mean, it's a kind of uplifting song. I think.
Well, it's sad because I've lost 2 boyfriends.
You what?
I lost 2 boyfriends, one at 24 and one at 50.
Oh, lost him how?
Died.
Oh, wow.
Died suddenly.
Okay, yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's a very nice song. Sorry.
Yeah, it's about being, you know, would I rather be oblivious and not feel all this pain, or should I feel all the pain, you know, because it hurts.
This is a very deep night here with Rick Springfield.
I'm deeper than just friggin' Jesse's girl, okay?
There's a lot going on. We have laughter, tears, and all that stuff. People here since the crack of ass. Okay. Another question? Yes.
Without giving anything away, on your sequel, are you planning on going into vivid detail where you left off in this book?
Without
Without going
giving anything away,
yeah,
with the sequel.
the very end of your book. In your sequel, are you going
Yes,
to
it picks up from, it picks up, yes, and it goes whatever way it goes, yeah. I can't tell you which way it goes, because then you won't buy the book. And I would want to get on the New York Times bestseller list 3 times, at least.
I think you will.
Okay, another question.
No, Mr. Star Wars figurines, you're done for the night.
There
Yeah.
must be more. There must be more. Yes, Joey.
The segments in the book, they all feel so different. They have, you know, did you write them each individually, you know, like Ronan's part, you know, did you write each of these segments?
No, I wrote it all sequentially. I mean, it just, the voices came, there's different parts of the book that have a different voice. Everything has a different voice. And it just happened naturally. There's some, you know, when Bobby talks, it's all about his dick, you know, but, you know, with a heart, I mean, but when the Ronan thing is almost spiritual about this guy connecting with the beautiful highlands of Scotland, where I camped as a young child when I was 10 years old by Loch Ness and stood on the edge of the lake looking for the friggin' monster, and he never showed.
Woman in the back on the left. Hi. With the sunglasses on your head, standing up.
So the book,
She can't tell she's got sunglasses on her head. She can't see herself.
With the book.
so the book, the sequel,
The sequel.
New York Times bestseller list,
New York Times bestseller list. Movie.
where does the music fit in?
Where does the music fit in?
Is it still there?
What music?
Is it still there?
No, I'm actually, we're getting ready to start writing for the new record. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the music's still front and center, you know, until I make the bestseller list 3 times, and forget it. I'm sticking with prose. No, I love writing music. It's something that it just is automatic. So yeah, definitely coming soon. I think the last 3 records have been my best records personally, and I hope it keeps going.
You're a very driven man.
You might say.
Yeah. I mean,
I just love what I do, and I can't. I have ADD, so I can't watch television because I can't sit still, and I have to. So I use that time to write. And on an airplane, I'm a captive audience, so I use that time to write. So see, just someone walked by there and totally distracted me. Sucks. But the good side is, you know, I could focus when I work, so it helps me focus, helps me stay not depressed. Because I channel that depression into something creative so that I don't feel like it's beating me. I feel like I'm using it for a positive thing. It's fuel.
well, it's interesting because you want to be, you know, New York Times bestseller list 3 times and just continue. There's like a, you know, one of those big balls.
Yes, the memento ball that I'm never satisfied.
You know, like Indiana Jones, you know, being chased down.
Yeah, I am being chased to a degree, for sure. You know, time is limited, and there's a lot I want to do and a lot I want to explore.
Yes. There's a lovely young girl right there. Do you have advice for any young musicians
what do you play?
and
Singer?
authors?
Are you a singer or a writer?
Bass player and writer.
Bass player and writer.
Wow.
What's your name? Caroline. How old
Well,
are you?
you're cute. I need a bass player, actually. I could fire George in a heartbeat. How old are you? Oh, you probably work cheaper than George, so you're hired. There is no advice other than you have to really, 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 really want it. It can't be. I met people that go, yeah, I think it'd be great if I was to be a singer. I kind of really like that. You got to be so passionate about it because there's so many doors in any career. There's so many doors are shut that you have to have inner strength and you have to stay close to your family. This is especially if you're a young kid because you can get your head messed with. You know, it's very important. It helped me a lot to be close to my family when people were trying to mess with me. But just work as much as you can, hook up with as many people as you can, and learn what you can. And whatever you love to do, find someone who does it better and learn from them. And the three things I tell my kids, well, three most important things in your career is never give up, and never give up.
Yes.
Often do you play your guitar rig every day, just as much as ever?
Do you play your guitar every day, just as much as ever?
No, I only play when I write or when I'm performing now, actually, and which is what I've done since I discovered songwriting. But I write a lot, you know, so I would always generally have a guitar in my hand. But I rarely play just to kind of entertain myself. You know, it's usually with a purpose, either to, you know, I'm playing live or I want to write a song, I'm trying to write a song.
You're not just picking it up when you're walking through the house, or?
Nah, I mean, if I have it, sometimes if there's people around and we get drinking too much, I'll pull it out and we'll play and sing and stuff. That happens occasionally, but not as much as you'd think, you know. Like you think, oh wow, Paul McCartney, how cool to go over to his house. He probably whips out the piano and sings "Hey Jude" for everybody. Doesn't
I remember,
happen.
no, I've had people tell me that they've written songs on their way out the door. They were walking out of the house and they hit something on the piano and turned around and went back.
Yeah, that's magic when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Along that line. I heard Tom Robbins one time, he said he only writes a sentence once. He'll work for days and days on one sentence, but then he never rewrites. And that, of course, Annie Lamott is like, write a shitty first draft, and it's all in the rewrite. So I was wondering what your process is. Do you do multiple rewrites?
Yeah, I do. I'll write a chapter or a scene, and then maybe kind of set up where I'm going with the next one. But then to get into the next one, I'll reread that scene every time I go in. I mean, like the opening phone call in this book, I must have read 300 times, trying to get into the book to get it started. And you change it every time you read it, and that's how I think you come up with better stuff. And sometimes you go back to the old thing, you look at it, and go, nah, that doesn't work. But I do a lot of rewriting as I'm going. And then once it's done, then the major rewrite happens when you give it to an editor and they go, you know, this is great, but what about trying this here? And a good editor, every writer thanks their editor. A good editor is like gold, absolutely. It's more than a great producer in a record. A good editor is really, my editor on both these books was Stacy Creamer, who's amazing, and
She
some of you know
believes
her.
in you big time.
What's that?
Stacy, she believes, the woman who said.
She was going to call me today to say that we got on the
That's
bestseller
right.
list. So, and she's in Italy now biking. She's a freak. She's a triathlete. She's a mom. She's an incredible businesswoman. She's like a dynamo. If I was a woman, I'd go, well, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah. Okay, one more question. Over here. Yes.
I want to know what your favorite Tool song is.
Favorite what?
What your favorite Tool song is?
Enema's a pretty perfect song. and the weird thing about them and Queens of Stone Age, they don't sing choruses, so you kind of, oh, I love that song. What's it called? I don't know. I go ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da. So, but Anima I happen to know because that was the first song that my son turned me on to. But it's a pretty perfect art rock, song. I think says great lyrics and just kicks ass all the way along. It's fabulous.
Sing a line or two.
What's
Don't
that?
tell him to do that.
Well, what?
She said sing a line or two.
Oh, I can. I mean, because it's there's no choruses in any of these things, Flush it down, flush it down.
There you are. Okay, with that, we're going to end it so everyone has more time to get their books signed and that kind of thing. Thank you, Rick Springfield.
Thank you.